Hey everyone, welcome to SF Garnish Music Production. My name is Justin and I'm here for West Coast Wednesdays. And today we're going to be talking about beat making in Ableton Live 11 Suite with some tools using iZotope. I don't know if you guys know iZotope in the VST yet, but there is a deal right now where you can get over $1,000 worth of product from them for $49. And this is just one of the beat tweakers that we're going to use today in that package. I believe the deal is going on through the end of the month, the 31st, I think, of May or something. So check that out at iZotope. And we're really grateful to be doing our West Coast Wednesdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekly, thanks to the Garnish Network. Please tune in when you can on our social media and please like and subscribe. We do have a deal for our summer boot camp that's happening June 13th through 19th at our Oakland studio location. It's from 11:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. daily, June 13th through 19th, going through Ableton 101 and 201 curriculum. Click below on the description. There's a sign-up code that's going to get 25% off. So this is an in-person class, but there are some online options as well. And there's in-person locations worldwide. So check out all of our locations at sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. And you can go from there to find out all 8 locations worldwide. Anyone that's part of our producer or academy program can actually go to the other locations and sit in on classes. So I don't know what other electronic music production school offers that, where you can actually travel and take courses in other locations internationally. So here we are in Ableton 11. I have started with a scene here that's a little bit complex, and I just want to kind of walk you guys through the basics to start off. And let's just go ahead and say what we're in, right? So we are in session view, and we have a lot of grouped tracks. And I'm just going to describe a little bit of the basic layout to you guys so that you guys can create something simple for yourself. So this is kind of showing you guys that there's all tracks right here. If you open up those all tracks, then I have groups within there. And I have my rhythm tracks, and then I have my vocal tracks and our drum tracks. Those are our general 3 groups for this session. And how you group tracks is literally just by collecting them, selecting them, right? And then Command G, right? Grouping them. Sometimes you don't want to group a group within a group unless you really know what you're doing. So just play around with grouping tracks. It's really helpful with having a master volume. If you have a push 2, which is what I'm using today to control this, I have a push 2 and an MPK mini, a Kai MPK mini that I'll be running the session from. So definitely try grouping some tracks together. Session view is where I start creating my loops, and then you press tab and you can go and then kind of paint it in to your arrangement view, right? And I'm just going to play you just a portion of what was painted here. Let's go ahead and try this out.
Before the rain, can you see me now? I saw myself before the snow came.
That's using Simpler to sample the voice back. We're going to get into a little bit of that today, but if you don't know about Simpler, check out a previous episode. We talk about how to bring your samples into Simpler and mess around with the effects in there.
Can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
You notice these tracks right here look a little different because they are frozen to save on CPU. You can kind of see it actually in session view here. I'll turn this down a little bit so you guys can hear my voice a little better. But as you can see right here, all of these kind of bluish areas, that means that I froze these tracks. And one of the reasons why I did that is that I wanted to save some CPU usage. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner, it's around 30 right here. And you want to be able to click on this little guy right here. I'm going to kind of zoom in so you can kind of see this. So right here, you're going to notice that button, when I press it, it just hides or shows how much CPU usage each track is. So as you can see, this drum track is using more than these other ones. Notice how the frozen tracks aren't using as much CPU, right? It's not really peeking it out. So this is a way that if you have some VSTs that are using a bunch of CPU, you can remediate that. All right. So this track, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the basics of how it was created. It was created literally in just a few hours of a morning, doing samples in session view, recording, engaging record mode on specific channels, right? And anytime an idea came through on guitar, just going to that specific channel and recording onto it in session view, right? That's why there's only a few guitar loops right here, and I would just engage that one. And then I have my FCB 1010 at my feet, so I could actually press the next play button and it would start recording on that next scene right here. All right, so today we're going to talk about beat making. There's a lot of ways to get these beats to be complex in arrangement view. You can kind of like copy in your own unique little sounds and samples that you find on Splice or through different sample packs. And that is one way to do it. And actually, probably at the end of the mixing, I probably will add in a few little sounds here and there. But one way is to find an instrument that kind of creates that effect already. And in this Isotope plugin that you can get currently in the next like week or two for $49, you get like 11 different plugins, which is worth a lot more normally. So here's the plugin right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and record enable just this track. And I'm actually want to record enable the second one right here. If you can't record enable two at a time, you want to change your setting to be able to do that, right? And to reverse that, you go press Command and record, right? And that can isolate the recording or record two at a time. So Command click on the record button is that shortcut. Now, the reason why I want these both on is that I'm sending this Isotope chain to my drum sampler. Okay, and I'm actually going to sample into this channel and record it into arrangement view, and then go from there to line it up and kind of cut it up the way that I want. So here I am, I have my push 2 engaging this. If you want to see what you're doing with this, you have to look right down here. Let's change my view so you guys can see. There we go. All right, so right down here in the corner, let me just zoom in. So as you can see right here, you can see the Isotope, you press this function, and it will bring it up, and it brought it up on a different screen right now for me. So I'll bring it down here so you guys can see it too. All right, so let's go ahead and just look at this instrument for a second. Now this completely looks different than Ableton, and plugins are going to have their own layout. Okay, this brake tweaker is from Isotope, and it's part of their new $49 deal, and it's a great tool to customize beats. So let's go ahead into some of the demos that they have, and let's go into the tutorial right here, tutorial. And now it loads up to where it's going to be on your device. All right, so these are just some presets that are already in here. And if you can't actually engage your device, I would really suggest octaving to the right location, right? Sometimes when your MIDI device is not engaging, it's because it's on the wrong octave. So let's go ahead and if you guys have any questions at all, you're welcome to send a little question or comment, and I'd be happy to answer your questions when they come through. I'm going to go to that, actually, our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is SF Garnish Music. And I just want to reiterate that we are going live to all of our different social medias today. So please chime in, like, and subscribe where you can. And we'd be happy to work with you. Please chime in, like, and subscribe. All right. I'm actually watching it now so I can see your feeds of any questions. Okay, so back into the beat, the break tweaker. A couple different features here on this iZotope plugin is you can change to visually see what each device is doing right here. Okay, and if you want to also solo it, there's a little solo function and it mutes the other ones automatically. You can also solo 2 at a time. You can also mute only specific channels just by the M's. This is kind of a common feature of DAWs, right? And VSTs is muting and soloing. So let's go ahead and just go one by one and kind of customize. All right, so here's that sound. And you can start kind of changing the tail. If you want it sharp. You can also start with the panning, right? All right. So only some of these have sounds. Talk about the fine tuning, the gain. All right. So those are some of the functions of that one. Now we can go to the next one. Make sure that you're really soloing just the one you're working on. All right, going each one at a time. So now your kick. Let's go through and make sure we're looking at just the kick. Now this is where you can actually change which kick you even use, right? And also how far the stop time is. You can reverse it. The verse won't even catch unless you have it in the right ending point. So go ahead and forward that. You don't really want to pan your low end too much, so that's just going to stay. Putting a filter on. What the filter is doing, it's cutting off the high. There's a low pass filter, so it's cutting off all the high end. You can do the opposite with high pass filter, but obviously your kick won't come through then. Distortion, there's none here. Let's try warm. Changing the tone to be a little bit lower in pitch. All right, it's pretty thuddy right now. All right, so let's go ahead and just listen to everything together. This tone right here, I think I want to actually put a little bit of warmth onto this one. Distortion. Low pass filter. The cutoff. All right. You can also cut this off. And even change the entire sound. So we'll keep that original sound. There's also obviously upgrades where you can get more sounds involved. All right, let's listen to everything now. All right, so noticing the snare, this sound right here, I want a little bit less of that really tinny sound. Let's go into our snares here, electronic. Listen to everything together. Filter. All right, so we're getting that kind of more customized sound now going on. So really, this snare sound is now a kind of a snap or a clap. Let's go ahead and just try a couple different ones. Listen to everything together. Yeah, a little bit too much. So it doesn't come with too many options here in the first pattern, but obviously that first snare wasn't the one we wanted, neither of these. That might be it. Let's listen to everything together. All right. So once you have a sound that you like, you then can go ahead and just save that as your new setting. Electro O2. All right, Electro JA02. So now you have that preset, and you can go to each one just by double clicking into it. So this is a preset from previously that I did. And let's go back to the one. So to A/B your different presets, it's similar to mixing, right? So this one right here, I really want to get that to sound different. Filter. That might be it. All right, so I can go ahead and save that as what it currently is and say, does she want to do a preset change? Yes. All right, so that's how you do a couple different tweaks in the Break Tweaker. Now, how do you record this into your track and line it up with everything the way you want? And that's what we're going to get into utilizing Ableton 11. So let's go back into our view here. Now, notice how I have everything turned off in this channel, but this is a chain that I put on the drum sampler, which is sampling the isotope. And we're just going to go ahead and play into arrangement view for the time being. So here we are in arrangement view. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pick a spot that we haven't really worked on yet. So up here in the upper area, you guys can see that I have some markers. This is what I've done already, so I don't really want to utilize that. And I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down to the tracks that I'm on. So here we are in drums, and now we're back into our instrument. When we record, it's going to go in right here. Pressing record on the push. And I'm actually going to turn the metronome on as well. If you don't play to the metronome, this is the part where you can actually start doing some syncing and warping, in post-production. Notice how my sync function is on right here. If I turn that off, it will not sync to my 150 BPM, which is my current BPM of my Ableton. All right. So there we are right there, putting a couple samples in. And notice how it recorded the MIDI track right onto our location. Let's go back to where we were. Scrolling over. So it recorded the MIDI track here. And really what we are doing though is we want to take this sample and get this to be in the right location for our beat. Now, I didn't actually play with the track. This is just kind of a demonstration of it. But what we would do is we'd make sure that this is aligned with our click. Okay. Zooming in, right? and noticing that it's a little bit off from the click. So I'm going to go Command 4 and slide that over. And we'll just cut that right there. And let's just listen to this track alone. Now notice down here, it's a little bit off from the click, and you can actually bring this over exactly to where you want to be on the click. It's not going to take too many warp markers because we were already to tempo, but just a little bit like this. And now notice when I turn the click back on, you now can hear. So right there is when my finger was a little bit late. So we can actually just change that right there and go ahead and again, my finger was late. So this is a spot where, you know, more precision would help in the performance, but also in post-production, there's no problem. You can actually align it very easily using your warp markers. All right, so that whole part is pretty aligned. And what we can do now is go Command 4 and get back into being in grid mode. And here we are in grid mode. And we can now just take this track and see how it sounds with the new I'm just going to go ahead and just press 0 on this, deactivate that, and cut this out. Command X. I'm going to slide all the way over. Notice how I already have a drum track here. So I just want to go ahead and duplicate this. Command D. I'm clicking on the name of a track, right, to Command D. If you're not in the right location, right, it won't duplicate properly. We're going to go ahead and just delete this other. And I'm just going to go ahead and mute the previous one and just listen to the new one. All right, so as you can see, it's kind of playing along with the Kingsway kit. That's just kind of doing the meat and potatoes down here. If I want to solo that really quick, I'll show you. Right, pretty simple. And then I go ahead and solo what we did up here, which is bringing in the Isotope VST beat tweaker. Now notice if you don't want all the different sounds, you can easily, let's go back into our Isotope and purposely mute the extra sounds. So I can mute this, and when I start playing it, let's go ahead and turn this back on. Notice that that extra blom, blom isn't in there. So I actually kind of like that without this extra sound on. So that would be a moment where I would then sample just that, exactly how we just did. So just going in to something that we've already done, let's go ahead and just press press 0 on this for now. This is kind of our sample for the day. Minimize that. Let's go in and just play this. So as you can see, I did some customizations, and then also the parts that I liked, I was able to just duplicate those in those areas right there. So this is, once again, utilizing this iZotope plugin. And like I said before, pretty cool deal going on for $49. If you go to iZotope and look up their most recent deal, this is one of the plugins that comes in. They're, I think, a pack of 11 different VSTs for $49. Once again, my name is Justin from SF Garnish Music Production, and I just want to mention that we do have our summer boot camp starting June 13th through 19th, another one in August. It's going to be 36 hours, 6 hours of studio time, learning in our workshops with an hour break, so 11:30 to 6:30 daily, and sign up with the link down below in the description if you're interested. It is an in-person class at our Oakland location in the Bay Area, California. If you want online classes or not in the area, you can also check out our website, sf.garnishmusicproduction.com, and a bunch of options for online classes. We pride ourselves on being a boutique studio with small class sizes, so it's almost like individual classes, private classes, but you also can learn from your few cohort as well. We're averaging about 4 to 5 students per class, and you can really ask questions and get involved with your own learning experience, both with our online Zoom classes with our teachers or in person at our location in the Bay Area. So check it out when you can. Here we are looking at the iZotope little plugin, working on our beat. Now, something else that I want to go through beyond this iZotope plugin is just some functionality within Ableton, right? So on our Kingsway kit, I just have the meat and potatoes here, kick and snare. I'm going to bring down a little bit of, yeah. So there was I have my delay on one of my returns. Just bringing that a little bit lower. All right. What I want to do is be able to kind of have a stutter hi-hat effect. And I'm going to quickly do this with the Kingsway kit. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this Kingsway kit, clicking on the name and press Command D. And starting from scratch, I want to play with the song. I'm going to unsolo that track, and I'm going to just record on this new Kingsway kit. And I want to make sure that my hi-hat is something that will sound good. Okay, I'm going to go in repeat mode. So this is a feature of the Push 2, is that you can easily go into repeat mode and then switch between your quarter note, triplet quarter note, eighth note, triplet eighth note, 16th note, all the way up to like triplet 32nd note. And just holding your finger down, right? Play your hi-hat. All right, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do on this. All right, starting from the very beginning, we're just going to go through parts of this and try it out.
Listen to the rules as they change, as they change. No reason but
What I'm trying to really focus on here is playing along the track and customizing in the build-ups and breakdowns, the hi-hat, using repeat mode. I'm mostly switching from the 8th note all the way up to the triplet 32nd note and everything between. Down to, I can see in the arrangement view, watching, we're coming up to a spot here. Go out of loop mode. We're going to come down to a break. And I know I want to simplify right there. Zooming in so you guys can see this a little bit better.
Can you see me now? I saw myself before the snow came.
And quarter notes, simplifying this part. This is the benefit of arrangement view. You kind of see where it's going to build up again. All right. So I just did this build up right here. I don't know if you guys can see this very clearly, but it's being able to switch from the quarter note to the 8th note to the 16th note and so on, and going up from there. Now this was played kind of using my finger on the push 2, and there is velocity that I was giving it, which the push 2 has some great functionality with velocity. Now you can also see some of the velocities down here in the bottom area. Most of all, they're pretty consistent, and the feel is pretty straight. So what I want to do is just go ahead and copy this one bar that I know was consistently something that could be kind of looped. And I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this just a little bit. And anytime that I have a nice build up, right, I can go ahead and grab that build up and duplicate that over, right? And even just put it in just for the build up part. Let's find out how that sounds. Right. Now we're back in with the hi-hat. Oops. Control Z. I think I just had, a shorter one. And noticing that there are some breakouts here that I want to really still pay attention to, and just go ahead and just cut the hi-hat in those locations. And then having it come back in for the next part. So this is where you can really get some more customizations and just like have a lot of fun playing through your entire track on specific instruments. And then also copy and paste certain areas that you like for build-ups, right? I'm just going to kind of quickly finish off the end here just for the sake of time. And copy this breakbeat in and see how that sounds.
For the snow came, I saw myself.
All right, so something that I really want to do with this track is have the pitch be affected on this instrument. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Now, one way is to change it into a waveform and actually start manipulating the waveform's pitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that entire piece from the very beginning. Okay. And you can also change waveforms back into Midi, right? But what I want to do is Command Shift R and just take this specific track. So I'm going to go to 39 Kingsway, not 38, 39 Kingsway. And I'm going to make sure that is a waveform, not an MP3. And let's see, if you render as a loop, it will, continue that. Convert to mono will make it a smaller file, which is what I do want. And then export it to a location that you want it to go to. So this is Hoth New Electronic is what we did. So let's go ahead and find that. New Electronic Ideas. And so go into the exact folder, right? Because you really want all your samples to be found in the same pack and area that you've been working in. And I will just name this one hi-hat. Sample. Full song. Hoth Electronic. I might even put the date or something sometimes, because these are all just kind of new ideas that I've been doing here for the live show. And going to press save. And now this is the rendering of that specific file, right? So really make sure that it's rendering. You can see right up here as it's doing it, that it's to the 39 Kingsway kit. It's only rendering that specific file and turning it into a waveform. I don't want really anything else to be bounced in this time. So as this is bouncing, this is a great opportunity. Once again, we're going to be live here for just about 15 more minutes, but to talk about our summer boot camps here at SF Garnish Music Production and Garnish at large, right? Garnish.edu. There's 8 locations worldwide for online and in-studio lessons in electronic music production. We're talking about school and curriculum that can walk you through the basics of your digital audio workstation, whether it be Logic or Ableton, which is what we're using today, or Pro Tools, FL Studio, etc. And then getting into sound design, mixing and mastering, beat making. And we have a whole curriculum that goes through the producer program, 120 hours, and then the 430-hour academy. If you consider other schools in even just the Bay Area, our price point is literally probably 10% of the rate that you would spend at another location. And we specifically create the curriculum to match your needs, the style of music you're trying to go for, whether you're a live instrumental musician that's trying to break into the electronic scene and doing live looping, anything that you're trying to do, we kind of customize our curriculum and our workshops to your needs. People that have different skill sets and different styles can actually really learn a lot from each other. And that's really the benefit of these boutique kind of small class sizes that we have at our studio. So check it out. Summer Boot Camp is happening in June and August. And then we have our whole academy is starting again in September. And it looks like our file has bounced. So we're going to go ahead and get into bringing that file now into its new waveform. Command T. So there's also ways to just put a pitch shift on this and change this. But I just want to be able to kind of demonstrate how to bounce and organize and save files, right? Pretty important tool. So because of the organization and knowing where your files are, when you are trying to find your files, which is here's our working folder here for electronic, we should be able to find the new electronic ideas, go into that, and there it is, right? Exactly where we put it. And it should line up right away if I put it right to the beginning of this track. Notice how it lines up and starts in the same location, right? Zooming in, same spot. Now, what I want to do here is bring this in and warp it, select all, and I want to quantize this, okay? And I'm going to hold down quantize, and I'm going to quantize it to the let's see, let's do 16th note. Okay, so this is a demonstration of how quantize works and also how you may not want to use it. All right, so I just press quantize and it brings it in and quantizes to the 16th note. Let's go ahead and just listen to this track by soloing that alone. And starting from the very beginning. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my groove on. This is something that we were talking about, is customizing it to be, even in electronic music, you want to have that human feel. This is changing velocity. It's changing some randomization, timing, quantization. It's just going to swing it just a tad bit. Notice how when I put a triplet on, it really affects it, right? Let's go ahead and just listen to the both of these together. I'm pressing Command to listen to both of these. I'm going to pan these left and right so I can kind of hear if that quantization has made any change. Noticeable change. And it has. Now this is also something that can actually put a cool effect, right? Is you have one quantize and one not. It's going to have that stuttering going on in specific ways. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of reverb on this. I'm working down here. You can't quite see it too much in arrangement view, but once I go into session view, it's a nice way to utilize the visual, right? It's showing my reverb on my send. Now, so this is just kind of customizing, the MIDI hi-hat versus just the wave that we created. And what I also want to do is figure out a way to kind of bring some pitch shifting in on some of the transitions, right? So let's listen to some transitions here. All right, so here we are. I'm going to go ahead and just listen to the waveform. This is 2 ways to pitch shift. Here we are looking at specifically some options right here, right? So track panning, etc. Now, what I want to do in this specific mode is transpose. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And I have my transpose function. It maps directly to my knob on my push 2, right? So this is what we're going to be messing around with. You can also right click, right? Press A function, and you can right, customize the transposition. So let's go ahead and record that mode just a little bit. Pressing play. Bring our volume up. All right, so we don't actually want to automate our volume here, so you can just literally delete that automation. We're just going to bring that up a little bit higher so you can kind of see what's happening. So this is where you can kind of get the right hi-hat sound that you want, right? It might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on where you want it. You can also select it and solo it, so you can really focus on the exact pitch that you want. All right, so that is the transposition feature of a waveform. And now we're going to go back in here and get into specifically the hi-hat in MIDI form and transposition. And we're almost out of time here. If you like what you hear and see, please check out our page on our YouTube page, because we have a playlist of all of our West Coast Wednesdays. We've been going live here for quite a while. All right, you can see my whole screen right there. And we are on this view. Great, great, great. So here we are on our hi-hat. Now, what we could do is, to find this easily, is we can kind of just go to our hi-hat and go to our different modes here. There we are, okay, in one-shot mode. Let's go ahead and listen to this a little bit. This is where you can also customize where you hear it start and end. show automation. So this is where we are right into, it says hi-hat, and then you're in transpose. Okay, so this is where you can start dealing with the specifics. And a great feature, once again, of the push 2 is that right away, instead of having to go in here, you actually have control of the transpose very easily from your knobs right away. Otherwise, you have to kind of customize this with your MIDI device. Sometimes it doesn't follow right away, but since the push 2 is made by Ableton, it follows pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of solo mode. I'm going to bring this to center, 0, and bring this up in volume. And I want to make sure I'm back in so you guys can see specifically that I want to be on transpose. So I click there, and now when I come back to the other side of the screen, right, it's in the transpose, right? So just visually seeing this from the very beginning, I have 2 screens available. So on my other screen, I have arrangement view, so I can click on both sides. Here we go. Now, if you want to record over, you want to press record. So I just want to give you guys an example of what not to do, actually, is that it actually recorded over what I wanted to do. So I'm going to Control Z that. Now this is a setting feature that we actually don't want to record on that channel, right? We want to record over that channel. Let's try this one more time. It's still recording over. Let's make sure we have that not engaged. Ah, I see. So let's go ahead and click this button up here, and we're going to actually engage this track to play, right? Pretty important.
No reason but you. Listen to the rules as they change, as they change. No reason but you now.
It's pretty loud right now, but I just want to hear exactly what I'm doing. So you can kind of play around with this all the way through the track, right? All right. So that is one way to kind of do the exact same thing. We played the one time through, you know, focusing on what notes we were playing and or the tempo, and the next time through automating that, right? So what I'm going to do is bring that automation down here and just take parts of it and Command D, right? Duplicate that across. And then, so it kind of has a general idea. Now in our transitions, this is the really important part that I want, is I want to drop the pitch specifically right in these areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this in to the exact location that I want.
Doesn't always seem cleaner.
All right. And that's actually a spot that doesn't have any audio, so we're not going to have that happen. So let's go ahead and make sure we have, okay, there we go. So our drop is actually happening just after that. So let's zoom in. I'm just using my plus function. I'm going to go ahead and just paste this over. Duplicate. There we go.
Seem cleaner.
This is so high that we're not even really hearing this on top. Let's bring that down.
Seem cleaner.
Okay, this actually drops. The right time. And once again, we're going to go ahead and have this be another drop. So notice that we already have one drop here that we kind of like. Copying and pasting this over so we don't have to do it again. And we can even get this drop even to go lower. Okay, Control Z, make sure it's not highlighted, and let's drop that all the way down. All right. So this is actually pretty loud right now, and this is just to kind of hear where we're at. A brings you to see your automations or not. And if you really want to get into what you're looking at, once again, we can click on the hi-hat and click on Transpose right here, and it shows that same automation. Notice how we have another drop happening right here.
For the snow came, I saw myself before the rain.
Now bringing this back in the mix.
I saw myself before the snow came. I saw myself before the rain. I saw myself before the
Notice how the drum bus was on. This is mostly with having your low end, but you can do a lot of stuff with the transients, right? And also how much drive and crunch you have. This isn't really doing anything because it's just all low end there. So something that I'll probably do is do a low pass filter on this hi-hat, and we're going to be ending really soon here. Thanks for being with us, for all of you that have joined. Filter, let's go ahead and put a auto filter on. Just make sure it's just the highs there. Take a drum bus off. All right, so we have that low pass filter, so it's just cutting out all the low end so it doesn't get in the way, right? We don't really want that in there.
The snow came, I saw myself.
Now, the last piece I'm going to do here is put an auto pan on just this hi-hat. Now this says Kingway kit, and I just might as well name this hi-hat. Hi-hat Kingway, right? Because we're just doing the hi-hat on this one, and we're going to make our amount of panning and the rate. Phasing and shape.
I saw myself before the snow came. I saw myself before the rain. I saw myself before the snow came.
All right, so there we have some of our hi-hat and our beats created. Once again, just a little recap on what we did today is we used an Isotope plugin, Beat Tweaker, I believe it was called. Might as well bring that up here. Break Tweaker, that's what it is. It's part of a new plugin that you can get in their $49 discount. Normally it's probably $1,600 or something for these 11 VSTs. So I suggest grabbing that when you can. It has some great samples inside of it already, and you can also upgrade to having more if you want, but it's a great little kind of starter package that they have. And then we went into some customizations using the Kingsway kit, which is a kit inside Ableton Suite 11, and then did some hi-hat work on top. If you have any questions, please comment or email us, sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. Really grateful to be working with you guys every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we look forward to seeing you at one of our boutique 36-hour workshops, leading all the way through our Producer 120 and Academy 430-hour with studio time. And you have also access to all of our locations when you are an Academy student. So please sign up at sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. Thank you, Garnish Music Network, for sending us out to all locations. Please click like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the near future. Take care.